I just shoveled it, threw it on this. Good evening. Welcome to our city council meetings for February 22nd, 2023. We're just going to jump right into things with a Pledge of Allegiance by Chief Carr.
Mayor, if you'll all please rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Chief. Very well done. Very well done. One of the best pledges we've had in a while. A couple weeks anyways. You can't even hear us. Okay, we'll move on to item 4.2, City Council comments and recognitions.
Just a shout out to the snowplow crews, man. Awesome job.
Yeah, snowplows, I think those on the ATVs get overlooked a lot too, just everybody insisting with snow removal. We're not done yet. It's gonna be another long night. Crews are out tonight, from what I understand, tonight as well, so appreciate all their work, long nights. Yes, thank you. We're gonna be quiet tonight. Do we have Jared on? I forgot, failed to recognize. I think we have Councilman Henderson online as well. I failed to recognize that. I'm guessing he is. We'll assume he is. Okay, move on to item 5, public comment. Audience members may bring any item to the City Council's attention. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes. State law prohibits the council from acting on items that do not appear on the agenda. Public comments for this meeting will also be conducted electronically. Any person interested in addressing the council may submit a comment by emailing a recorder at harriman.org or by visiting harriman.org/agendas and minutes, where there's a link to fill out an online public comment form. Your statement will be incorporated into the public record. So with that, I'll open for public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6. We'll do city council reports. Let me see, I've got a message from Jared here. Hold on one second. No audio at all. Jared.
I think it must be on his end. Cutting in and out, he says.
Okay, we'll move on. He's not, if he needs to chime in later, if we get him and he can chime in later, let's move on to Councilman Hodges.
I just have one thing to report on. The South Valley Sewer Board, we finally held our annual holiday party that's typically in February. We just recognized our outgoing general manager who retires in April, Craig White, and our Joel will be stepping into his role. He's been training for the last year or so underneath Craig, so we'll be in good hands. But we had a wonderful engagement down in Orem at the country club there, and had a nice dinner, and was able to get to know a lot of the employees and the staff there that we don't normally see on our board meeting mornings. So that's it.
Okay. Councilmember Orn. Okay. Councilmember Shields.
Oh, the weather in Cozumel was nice.
It's a great report.
Just thought I'd report that.
I really don't have anything on my report. We did have conference of mayors. We didn't really, it was kind of an uneventful meeting, conference of mayors. We didn't really get into anything at that meeting. Kind of talked about some legislative items, but nothing. Do we want to talk about LPC at all? Anything in LPC we need to keep an eye on? Not really, right?
No, I think even with the council mayors, the only item that was, it hadn't come out until that night was HB 499, which is dealing with homeless services. And specifically, it's focused on the cities that the providers say they would host a facility in, and Harriman is not one of those, but we would certainly be impacted as they look to as all the cities are paying into a fund to help offset the cost to those cities who do host. So 499 is out there. There was some conversation again about it today because it's expanding beyond Salt Lake and now to all the counties.
So now,
There's a pretty big increase in cost to this.
I don't know what our amount is. They're trying to get the state to match it, so the cities cover. I do think there's probably some discussion about accounting for how they're calculating their costs, because I've heard different ones, but I'm not sure I necessarily understand how they're coming to that cost. Maybe they're contracting with a provider like a UPD and they're saying, well, they're telling them it's this cost, but I don't know how UPD is coming to that cost number for them, so.
okay. Move on to item 8. 8.1, a recognition of the International Society of Arboriculture. Is that how you say it? Wow. Forester of the Year, Trent Bristol. Anthony, are you going to head this up? Perfect.
Come on up, Trent. I appreciate Trent being here with us tonight. He's one of those that was called out early this morning. What time did you get called out? 4:30, 4? 4:30. He lives out in Tooele, so it took him a couple hours to be here, and he spent all day
Fine,
on
that
a
30 inches of snow
four-wheeler.
we've heard about, yeah.
Yeah, he's spent all day on a four-wheeler out there battling the snow, so we appreciate him staying late and being here with us tonight. He'll probably be back on that four-wheeler again tomorrow, so we'll get him home to bed as soon as we can. But it's been about a month ago now, that Trent was attending a luncheon, which was part of a larger training that we send some of our park staff to. The luncheon was for the Utah Community Forestry Council, and he was surprised to walk in and see his wife and his was it your son that was there? His wife and his son were there. I think he was a little surprised and a little confused as to what was going on, but he was nominated by a group of his peers in the industry to be the Utah ISA chapter's Arborist of the Year for 2022. So it's a very prestigious award and honor for Trent. But I can't say that I'm surprised that he was nominated and received this award. Trent is a phenomenal employee here with our Parks Department. I just wanted to maybe touch on a few of his accomplishments over the last few years. Trent has gone out and earned tens of thousands of dollars in tree funding for us for several projects that we've been working on over the last several years, namely the Main Street landscape project and Juniper Canyon Recreation Area, right? So he's acquired tens of thousands of dollars worth of trees for these projects for us. A couple of years ago, he secured $8,000 or $10,000 to construct a gravel bed nursery, which we have out at Butterfield Park, which has really been a game changer to our tree replacement program. It allows us to keep inventory on hand, so we don't have to go to nurseries and purchase trees there. It also allows us to have bare root trees in our inventory, which are much easier to move around and plant, rather than lugging around these giant pots where they're full of dirt or ball and burlap, right? So it makes the process a lot easier, a lot more efficient. Trent has kind of revamped and improved our Arbor Day program. I know a lot of you have had the chance to go out into the schools, into the elementary schools with third graders when Trent's put on his Arbor Day program. He does a phenomenal job. He connects with the kids well, interacts with them amazingly. The kids love him. Everybody wants us to come back. So he does an awesome job there as well. And then he's continued to improve and keep us on track with our Tree City USA designation through the Arbor Day Foundation. So like I said, these are just little highlights of Trent's accomplishments. Trent's a phenomenal person. I'm proud to have him on our staff in the Parks Department. He gets along with everybody. Everybody loves Trent. And like I said, I'm extremely proud to have him as part of our staff and part of our team here. So we're lucky to have Trent in our community. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to anything tree related and beyond. So congratulations, Trent. I apologize, this is the award and the plaque that they presented him at the luncheon he attended. So I'll give that back to you now. But thank you, Trent, for all your service here in our community and for all you've done so far and for all you will do in the future. Thank you.
We'll do a picture, so don't sit down. Come back.
the chocolate factory and they said good things about it. Exactly.
I'm just going to take a quick minute and echo a lot of what Anthony said. I attended a couple of the Arbor Day celebrations last year with the elementary kids, and that Trent does an amazing job at entertaining. Third graders are not an easy group to, and he keeps them interested, he keeps them entertained, and I learned a lot. Even I brought Cohen along a couple times, and he still talks about it to this, keeps asking when the next one is that he gets to go to. So really, Trent, we are so grateful for what you do. I reached out to him with my yard. I think I've told people I planted 30-some trees in my yard a couple years ago, and I had issues with a couple of them. So I reached out to Trent. I said, hey, what do you do? He says, well, we offer this to all residents, and I didn't know we did this, but he came out and spent some time with me as a resident and just kind of looked at every single one of my trees and said, that's not on our approval list anymore. That's going to die in a few years. So, but all he had to do was walk up to these trees and, knew the issues we could be facing and gave him and the time he took to just do that, as a resident, like I said, it just meant a lot. So we're truly fortunate to have you, Trent, and again, congratulations. So. Okay, we'll move on to our consent agenda tonight, and I know Councilman Shields would like to move 9.1 off of there. So do you want to talk about that now then?
We can talk about it, we can take the vote on it and remove that out, or we can just
How do we do it,
have a
Jack?
discussion for a second before we vote?
Approve the consent agenda with the removal of item
Okay.
9.12, the discussion and action. And then
Unless-
we can talk about it after.
I'd just rather have a discussion about it rather than a consent item. So.
Okay. You want to make that motion then, Steve, or Sherry, either one?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written, but removing 9.1 for discussion and action.
Okay. Motion by Sherry,
Second.
second by Steve. Teddy?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Jared, do we have you? Okay, I think he probably dropped off till we get back in there. Okay, and I'll vote yes, so we'll move approved except for 9.1. Steve, do you want to discuss it?
Yeah, this will be quick, and then we can move to approve it. But as I was looking at this, first of all, I appreciate the financial report that goes in. The details that are in each one of those line items is so awesome. It's helpful. And then if I have any question, to have all the budgetary lines included in the report, it's just bravo. But as I was reading over it, I appreciate the check marks and exclamation points, like, hey, you should pay attention to this. It was very helpful. As I read through it, there were at least 3 sections that suggested the revenues we are receiving from the particular sources are projecting to be insufficient to cover the expenses of those particular areas. Water was one, HCC was another.
Storm drain.
Storm drain, yeah. Those are areas of, I don't know that there's anything that we do that's as important as a city council than budget decisions. And I don't know if these are things that we're all going to tackle individually in a bunch of separate different meetings, or if this is something we need to set some time apart and really dive into some of the budget problems we have. It's hard for me to think about some of the other big decisions that we might have coming, other budgetary things that we have to decide. We're just the other day, we have another $7 million thing that we got to discuss, right? I hate making those decisions in a vacuum, especially when I know that there's these other areas of concern. And I know they're funded separately and they're different things, but it just puts me in a mindset of, I don't like having the boogeyman out there and not being prepared to tackle it. So I don't really have any objections to the report, and I'm happy to approve it as it is. but I think it raises some concerns that we as a city council probably need to be a little more proactive in tackling.
Nathan?
If I might, so staff recognizing that, we intend to do, as we go through this biennium piece, is to have a special work meeting with you. We need to get that set. We're meeting internally right now so that you can, the way I would picture this is we'll have a meeting where we just give you all the information and then have a second meeting so you can come and ask us informed questions after that. And these items are all part of that. They need to be part of it. You may choose to, after that first meeting where we give you all the information, maybe you'll want to have just a meeting just on those specific items. But what we want to do maybe differently than what you've had in the past is instead of just giving it to you that night and say, ask us your questions, we want to sit down and go through everything that we as staff see, give that to you, and then maybe it's a week later or something, give you a chance to think about what we've just given you, go through it, ask your questions so you feel like you can ask us informed questions. And that will, I think, move the discussion along better than the process I saw last time, which was, here's the night, you're going to approve it in an hour from now, do you have any questions? That just felt different than I've done in the other places. So Colin and I've already talked about that. So we're in the process of going through what is in this next budget so that we can sit down with you, give you all that information, and then those policy discussions you can then have and give us some direction. So
There's two things that I would ask to be a part of that discussion and analysis. Is number one is we know there are certain things that right now are quote unquote adequately funded or being, I'm just thinking ahead. I know we've got a presentation on potholes, right? Last year? Gosh, it all blurs together. I think it was last year we made an adjustment. We raised it from, 700,000 to 1.2 million. It's going to be 1.5 million. But if I remember correctly from the report we got, we'd really need to be close to $3 million a year to perpetuate the road standard on an ongoing basis. That's just one example of an area where it doesn't seem like there's a budget problem, but there's a budget problem. We're not funding things adequately to properly maintain the infrastructure over a long period of time. I'm concerned about reimbursement agreements we have and how impact fees are going to be sucked up to pay for things that have already happened when we were maybe planning on them to do something down the road. And that whole robbing Peter to pay Paul system, we all know is going to come up short at some point, and there's going to be a big bag that the taxpayers are going to be holding somewhere along the line. I don't mean to make it sound so doom and gloom, but our budgetary problems are bigger than just these 3 or 4 line items that were listed in here. We need a shift in how we're going to deal with some of these things. It's a much bigger problem.
Steve, I agree with you on that. Do we see other budget line items in excess, or throughout the process we're pretty tight in every line item, or we're at the 50% threshold right now because we're halfway through the year from this report? Like, do we have other, I mean, I know it ebbs and flows, but.
So this report is showing how we're doing based on the budget. And so you'll see that. Really, the bigger discussion is how do we prioritize and structure the budget? So these kind of, I think, very important questions are asked and then directed. I've never worked for a city where money was not an obstacle. And I think for a while, we've acted like it's not an obstacle here. It is, right? We have to figure out as staff, and then with direction from council, where do you want to spend money? Well, first of all, where do we need to spend the money to maintain what we have? And it's a push or pull, right? If you spend the money here, you can't spend it here. So that kind of policy discussion is really, that's our hopeful, after we give you, here's all the things, we hope to find all those reimbursement agreements. Again, many of these are old and written, and we're still surprised once in a while when stuff comes out. So have all that there, and then you can come in that next part with those questions, but also as a council, start to give direction. Okay, this is the highest priority. We're going to put money here. And in that process is we're still working through a strategic plan to get in front of you. But you look at that and you'll say, there are 5 things we do. They're all wonderful, great things. But if we rank them 1 through 5, we may have to cut funding in 5 or not do 5 anymore, or 4, because we're going to take those and spend it on 1, 2, and 3. Those are those hard decisions, because often the 4s and 5s are the fun things that people like. They need these other things. So this is it's a great segue. I did not prep him to ask that question, but we intend to do, we need you more involved at the front end as staff as we're creating a budget, so that we, and again, right now this is a biennial, so it's not a full budget rebuild, but it's kind of it's a good intro to how we want to do it in the future. And so Kyle's done a great job. I think sometimes he feels like he's always the rain cloud, the doom and gloom, but it's been great to have somebody you can go ask a question to who will actually give me access to run reports by myself. I'll tell you that story later. So we're coming along. We're getting there. These are great questions. I think as a body, that'll be the hard discussions you need to have in a budget. Frankly, I've been used to having in other places. In this last year, I kept waiting to have that, and we never quite got there. So we need to do that so that again, we're going to build a budget based on your direction. We need to get that earlier. So that's what we intend to do on this one. Like I said, this will be more of because there was already a budget adopted, this will be kind of a warm-up on how we're going to do it in the future. But those policy discussions, so you can say, this is more important than that, and that way we can budget accordingly.
But I like what you said about giving us the information and then let us digest that, because when you say you need our direction, sometimes it's hard to give you directions when we don't have the information beforehand, right? And so that's been a kind of a key component that's been missing. There's not enough of that, and so I appreciate that that's coming.
But I would say, though, sure, I think that the way that it's been done in the past is the budget was set, it was given to us in totality, and say, okay, is there anything you don't like, anything you want to fix, anything you want to change? And it's like, oh boy, I mean.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's big. I don't want his job. That's hard job. But I do think the idea of having us more involved with prioritization of budget items and saying, okay, we're identifying a problem ahead of time. Let's figure out how we can do that. I mean, I don't even want to say the word, but there may be needs for additional revenues to close some of these gaps. And if we know that that's out 3 years, we don't have to do it all at once, right? There's things we can stagger and stuff. I don't want to have to come to the taxpayers and say, we have a police issue, and we have a water issue, and we have a park issue, and we have a road issue, and, and pull a county on them, So, wait, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm prepared to go ahead and make the motion that we approve that item on the consent agenda, but I appreciate the opportunity to at least start that discussion, and would love the opportunity to have that more robust discussion sooner than later. So with that in mind, I said I would move that we approve item 9.1. Is that sufficient? Okay.
Motion by Steve, second by Teddy. Teddy?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Thank you for that discussion and bringing that up, Steve. And thank you for your work on that, Kyle. Yep.
I really did look it up.
I'm just happy somebody read it, so.
I love it.
I love all the
It's,
little high notes of the points and everything. It was great.
Yeah, the little numbers over here, you can come down here and cross-reference.
Yeah, it
with
was
the-
great.
Yeah, it's really
So good.
fantastic. Okay. Brings us to the close of our meeting tonight. Future meetings, next Planning Commission meeting is March 1st, 2023. Next City Council meeting is March 8th, 2023. I will say tomorrow night, there is an open house here in the community room regarding the Main Street project. It's going to begin later this spring, early this spring?
Now, it's happening.
It's starting right now?
Yeah, February 20.
Yeah, the meeting will be from 6:30 to 7:30.
6:30 to 7:30.
Community
It's a little slow today.
Please come.
Yes. Anything else? Any other
Rugby, opening day, Friday, or Saturday.
rugby opening?
Game
Then
The Warriors.
Should be nice.
the Harriman Harmonics, when is that?
Next week.
Next weekend, yeah.
That's next
Wednesday, Friday,
weekend.
Saturday, right?
Yep.
Next Wednesday through Saturday evening. Still tickets available for the Harmonics
available.
musical here. It's a lot of fun.
Still fun.
That's a ton of fun, so get your tickets for that as well. So with that, I'll look for a motion to, we got to go back to work meeting for one item, then we'll go to
So moved.
two.
Motion to reconvene work meeting?
Second.
Motion by Steve, second by Teddy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, we